What are the teachings of Thoth? I am your host and guide, Matias Stefano. In this episode, we will explore the keys to build realities. 12,000 years ago, when I was born in the river Nile, we were taught about our ancestors being the builders of our realities. They were our grandfathers, grandmothers, and they used to be for us like those blue ones coming from the skies and bringing the information to Earth. So we learn from them about the realities, about heavens, about the construction of Earth, and why we were here in this reality. For us, the most important ancestor that we had for our times, the mentor of our civilization of Kem in Egypt, was the one we call Djehuty. Djehuty was the name that represented the one who was balanced through time. Djehuty was a person. He was born first of all in Middle East, and he was sent to Atlantis to organize the whole civilization. He was part of one of the 12 families, and he kind of was one of the rulers of the system at that time. Even though the system was not ruled by kings or by men gods, the 12 families were like this system of wise people to whom all humans would ask what to do. And he was the one that represented the most important of all the other wise people of the 12 families, that everyone in the families would ask to him what to do and how to construct, build, transform our realities. The first priests and priestesses used to teach everything through stones, crystals, and vibration. But when we began to be disconnected to it, we needed to print it, to write it. And that's why we started to use papyrus to write down all the information and to use hieroglyphics, hieratics, letters and sounds imprinted on paper and then in rock. This created the idea that Djehuty was still alive in those who learned how to write, how to transcend information through the words. And because of the papyrus was in the river and we harvest this papyrus to write the knowledge, we related that the bird, the ibis, the bird that was taking care of the papyrus in the river, was the symbol that connect the wisdom of Djehuty. And that's why all the animalistic people, the ones that believed in the nature gods, they start to relate the knowledge of Djehuty with the ibis, and that's why we had this god with the ibis head. In Egypt time, we started to call Djehuty like Thoth, and then for Greek people, they call it Hermes. So the symbols of Hermes was still alive and is still alive in medicine, because he was the first one to help us understand that the doors of realities were in our bodies, organs, blood, DNA, and that is why the symbol of Hermes was the snake. In ancient times, the keeper of the wisdom was the snake. So the snake has the two tools, the positive and the negative, that could kill us or could heal us. So that's why the magicians, the physicians, they used to use this stick to hold the snake and to take the venom so they could make poisons to heal. So that's why the symbol of the snake around this caduceum that represented all the chakras and the wisdom of every level of consciousness was the symbol to create the poisons to heal the humanity, to heal the bodies, so we could open the portals of wisdom within ourselves. And that's why the caduceum is still the symbol of Hermes and the symbol of medicine in every culture. Djehuty was the representative of all the builders of realities on Earth. He was the human that descended directly from the blue ones, from the Arcturians, and he was one of the priests that could live the most. That whoever was in the temples, whoever was creating our civilization in Atlantean times, in Kim time, everyone would know him because he was the one preparing everyone through hundreds of years. That is why when we as Hephian people, the Atlantean people, we understood our purpose on Earth, he was the one chosen to build the network physically, so we could download all the information from the high spheres here on this planet. Djehuty, for our history, he was like this mentor that designed our country, that designed our way of thinking, that he was the guide that told us how to create what for all of us in that moment was our daily life. He was the guide of the families coming through the Mediterranean Sea to live in Egypt, to live in the Nile. And he was kind of the one that decided the role and the place that every one of us would have along the Nile. His brothers and sisters were living all around the river Nile, from the very south to the north, and they would keep the idea that he built about how to create a proper society in order to contact the higher levels of consciousness in different spheres, in different dimensions. He kind of made this plan that we in Chem call the Atartumti, the plan of bringing heaven on earth, and how the Sirius people taught to him and other architects how to create the pyramids on this planet, and how to move the energy of time and space through the pyramids so we could handle the portals of time. When I used to live there, the teachings of our whole way of thinking, our culture and our history was taught in one temple that we called the Mahat Kai. Mahat Kai was the place where we understood the doors through time to create the universe. That's what it meant, Mahat Kai. So in this temple, the women and men that were in charge of wisdom would teach us the first stages of how the architect of the universe would create every reality. Djehuty was the one that settled the keys to understand how the realities were built, and his goal was to teach people how to create those realities and how to open those realities here on this planet. So that's why the civilization was split into different levels of consciousness too. The ones related to nature, the ones related to society, and the ones related to the divine. Those related to the divine were the descendants of the blue ones, of the 12 families. I was related to one of those families at that time, so what we had to do was to learn about everything in the divine. And that meant that we were willing to rule the society, and we were willing to be the heads of the state, of the society. So that's why Djehuty said the ones that are going to rule the society are the ones that have to be more prepared to be in relation with every sphere. Because ruling at the time of Atlantis was not about power. Djehuty and his brothers and sisters tried to build a new civilization that would go beyond the power. That's why all the preparation for the representative ones, the 12 families, was to be prepared in every emotion, in every part of their bodies, how to rule their own power within, so they could be representatives of the universe on Earth and not to be treated like gods. One of the first things that we had to understand was that we have not the power because we were chosen. We have the power because we are just a part of the universe that can understand the universe. So whoever has this ability has more responsibility than any other, because responsibility was the key for the universe. The universe, the creation of God, the creation of the goddess, was to put there in nature everything to be balanced, everything to have harmony. So whoever takes over this harmony is not related to God or goddess. That's why the 12 families has to learn how to live in balance, in harmony with all the environment, with every part of society, so we could be really the eyes of God and the goddess on earth. And to understand that, we were taught about the statements of the universe, everything that had created us. And so the first thing we had to learn was the sounds in which we could listen and understand every part of God and the goddess. We would learn that every aspect of the universe has a positive and a negative aspect, that everything has a female and a masculine aspect of reality. So that's the only way in which the universe can create new realities, through feminine and masculine aspects. That's why for us, the sun and the moon was not feminine or masculine. The sun has an aspect that was feminine and an aspect that was masculine. For us, of course, was the two faces of what Egyptians after that call Horus, the masculine aspect of God in the sun, and Sekhmet as the feminine aspect of the sun. Being also for the moon, Sheshet, the feminine aspect, and Thoth, Djehuty, the masculine aspect of the moon. So for us, moon and sun were both father and mother within. This double aspect of every reality helped us to understand that we need to find the balance in order to create, that there was no feminine over masculine, there was no masculine over feminine, that both of them had to be in balance in order to create new realities. This helped us to understand that we have to respect every aspect of the universe in order to create new realities, that we cannot be in control of any part of the realities. We have to become both of them. So the teachings was to become beings so neutral that we could hold within the feminine and the masculine aspect in just oneself.